And we go now to our good friend Tony Perkins, president of the Family Research Council. He is with us. Tony, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, Tim. How are you and Ed doing this morning?
Hey, doing good? Did the hotel rooms sell as far north as Baton Rouge when they have something like the Super Bowl in New Orleans?
I don't know. When I'm in Baton Rouge, I'm not looking for a hotel. I'm at home, so I wouldn't know.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're off to a good start with our little smarty pants, Tony Perkins.
I would say when a hurricane comes, the hotels fill up. So.
Yeah, they do. People come from the coast as far north as where we live.
That's right. They come from Mississippi over here to get our good hotel rooms. But that's fine. We like the economic development.
With a banjo on their knee.
That's right. I was thinking about you guys. I'm not a sports fan, but you're talking about those two brothers. It kind of reminds me. I guess there is a biblical precedent for that. Esau and Jacob were probably along those same lines.
Yeah, Cain and Abel.
Cain and Abel. Yeah, they had a rivalry. Hey, Tony, wanted to talk to you about what's happening in Washington as it relates to this. A couple things, but as it relates, where do you see this gun control thing going with this debate's going on up there?
Well, I mean, I thought if you saw Feinstein on Friday, or I guess it was Thursday, unveiling her proposal, which is far-reaching, and I just thought it's just so ironic. This was on the eve of the March for Life, which drew about 500,000 people. I was there, freezing cold. But on the 40th anniversary of Roe v. Wade, 55 million unborn children whose lives have been ended through this government-sanctioned and in some cases taxpayer-funded abortion. She holds a press conference about how we have to save the children, rolls out the reverend from the National Cathedral.
Oh, my word.
And how he launches into this supposed to be prayer, but it was a sermon about how the gun lobby was no match for the cross lobby. This is the same National Cathedral, the National Church is what they call it, that called for same-sex marriage, going to be doing same-sex marriages there at the National Cathedral. So I just, they don't have a voice for the unborn children who have lost their lives, but they're exploiting the tragedies that took place in Connecticut and elsewhere to push their liberal Constitution-smashing agenda. And I hope that Americans rise up and give them a definitive, not only no, but absolutely not. Not on our watch. You're not going to shred our Constitution and take away our rights. We've seen enough of this from this administration, and you liberals need to go back where you belong.
Well, talking to Tony Perkins about the whole gun control.
Not that I have an opinion on it.
No, yeah. Where do you really stand, though, Tony? Come on, man. Quit being coy with us here.
Yeah.
But here's the strategy. Now, this is so our listeners are aware of this. I mean, this is so far-reaching and outlandish, and people will lampoon her because she is a nut. And she is. I mean, I think this is so far-reaching. But here's what this is, and I think she's genuine in her intentions, as ill-focused as they are. But the president is being silent about it because it's to his benefit, because then he comes in with something, to the middle, to the right of her, if there's such a thing, getting to the right of her, which would take much, and then proposing something else in forcing the NRA or those that are supportive of the Constitution to compromise. So I see her as a decoy out there with something that is far-reaching, totally unacceptable, and they come back in the middle with something else that will whittle away at our rights. We never lose our rights in totality with one fell swoop. It is a incremental process. That's what we've got to be concerned about.
Tony, if this was such a urgent matter that demanded the attention of the American Congress and people and presidency, this gun control measures that they're trying to promote, that is the Democrats, not all Democrats, but Senator Feinstein and President Obama and Joe Biden and others, they had 2 years where they controlled the House, Senate, and the White House. They could have done anything they wanted, could have passed anything they wanted. I'm not saying it would have been held up as constitutional in the court of law, but they could have passed anything they wanted, and they didn't. move on this at all. It's only after this Sandy Hook tragedy that took place that they started coming up with, all these ideas about gun control, which tells me, it's obvious they are just pandering. They're just doing this because of what happened at the elementary school. So they're trying to make hay off this tragedy.
In part, I agree with you, but remember Rahm Emanuel, who was the chief of staff for Obama and is now the mayor of Chicago. Remember his comment that you never miss an opportunity to use a crisis.
Right.
And this is certainly a crisis. I mean, this is gripped. I can't imagine a parent in America whose heart was not, broken over this. I mean, I continue regularly to pray for those parents. I can only begin to imagine the pain of losing a child in this way. And so there's no question this is a tragedy. But they are using it to, I believe they are exploiting it to advance an agenda that they've not had an opportunity up until this point to push. Now, I think it's a huge mistake, Tim and Ed, for a nation to focus on the instrument of this act of violence and not focus on the environment that gave rise not only to this incident, but a growing number of incidents in which children, young men in particular, engage in these heinous acts of violence. And it's the environment that we're creating. Number one, it's the devaluing of human life. Number two, it's the violence that we've embraced as a society. But there's a common thread woven within almost every one of these cases, and it is a breakdown of the family, and it is a lack of a relationship with a father. I don't agree with the NRA that the solution is putting a cop in every school. I believe a large portion of the solution would be found in putting a dad in every home, and that's what our policy should be encouraging, and that's what we should be having a discussion about, is what is best for our children. And the very policies that this administration is putting forth is doing everything possible to undermine the family and the home and the assurances that children will grow up with a mom and a dad.
Tony, do you think, I know the president has criticized House Republicans on this gun issue, saying they need to be willing to compromise. Do you see any kind of scenario where Republicans would cave on the gun issue due to the intense pressure that the media and Hollywood elites as well as members of Congress are putting on them on this issue?
So what day of the week is it? I mean, look, yes, I do see a scenario. I see a scenario every day where the Republicans give up great ground. I was very disturbed by comments I heard from Rand Paul over the weekend in the speech saying that Republicans need to tamp down their discussion about marriage, that we need to build the Republican Party and we need to do it on issues that bring people in, so we don't need to be talking about social issues. Well, I'm very disturbed about that. I mean, that to me is compromising on a very fundamental issue or a plank principle, if you will, of the Republican Party, the social issues, the very fabric of our society that holds it together. What if you were to say, well, look, we need to drop this discussion about lower taxes. I mean, we need to build a party. What are we talking about? Democrat light? This is ridiculous. And the only way the Republicans are going to hold the line on anything is if the American people, like they did in 2010 when they rose up through the Tea Party, and the vast majority of Tea Party folks were social conservatives as well, to say enough is enough. You guys keep retreating, and you might as well just walk backwards home because we don't need you.
Talking to Tony Perkins about what's happening in Washington, D.C. and the Congress and in the news. Tony is president of the Family Research Council. I'm Tim Wildman with Ed Vitagliano. Tony, can you stay for maybe 5 more minutes?
Sure.
Okay, because I want to switch topics here. Talk about what's going to happen with the. Did we know what's going to happen with the debt ceiling increase? Because that vote's coming up. What, this middle of February?
Well, they will. They tossed it to May, and that's when the debt ceiling. But we will have a couple of major debates in March coming up on the sequestration and the continuing resolution of the budget. Those two battles are going to be the decisive battles, and that's going to be the real indicator of whether or not the Republicans will ever take a stand going forward.
Well, Tony, I submit that the Republicans are going to raise the debt ceiling even if President Obama doesn't do squat. And I really believe that.
And I think the president believes that
too. I think he believes that too. Now, you may not believe that, Tony, and I don't know what the Republicans, I'm sure, certainly wouldn't say that, but they're in a position where if you don't increase the debt ceiling, that the economy starts spiraling out of control.
Well, let me address that, because there's I think a misunderstanding of that issue. There are people that say, well, you can't. In fact, someone at church came up to me yesterday and said, well, the Republicans have to do that because we can't default. That's like not paying your credit card bill. I know the media has promoted that line, but it's not true. There is over $200 billion coming in each month to the federal government where they can pay their bills. They can make those payments. It's an issue of prioritizing what they're going to pay for. They can service the debt. They can pay the Social Security. They can pay the military. In fact, different ones have proposed legislation that would mandate the president paying that. It would be up to him. So if the government didn't pay its bills, it was because the president decided not to. But the perception is that's the case. And so what the Republicans said, all right, we can't fight on this debt ceiling at this point. Let's fight over the budget and the sequestration, which reduces, when it kicks in, the sequestration is going to take spending down a big notch. That's going to be their baseline that they work from. And the conservatives in the House, which we have a lot of them, have said this is where we do not let the leadership go beyond it. So I do think the situation is a bit different than it has in the past. I think the Speaker knows it, and if the Speaker caves on this next go-around, I think you will see a serious challenge to his speakership, and you could actually see a revolt in the House.
Well, we'll see what happens. It's we can't. We say this often, but if you look at that a debt clock that we have here in our country, it's over $16 trillion.
Almost 16.5 right now.
16.5, headed toward who knows where, oblivion. Headed toward who knows where. So, I mean, if that doesn't stop somewhere along the way, the next year or two, I don't know how long we have, but you just simply cannot keep borrowing money at the rate we're borrowing money with no plan to stop. Even cut it in half, or to plan to, much less pay it back.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's it's extremely difficult situation to deal with, and I just don't see the will right now up there in Washington to deal with it. Tony, thanks so much for your time, and your program's heard each afternoon here on American Family Radio from 4 to 5 Central Time on the American Family Radio Talk Network. And we'll talk to you again real soon, okay?
All right, Tim. We're very honored to be a part of the AFR Talk Network, and love keeping folks informed of what's happening in D.C.
All right, thanks, Tony.